I have searched the New Testament. I cannot find any promise there except for those who overcome. And you only have two options: either overcome or be overcome. So we, all of us, each of us, has to make up our mind. I can overcome. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. But I have to make my mind up. I have to meet the conditions.
Today I want to read to you an article. It's titled "The Truth About Satanic Ritual Abuse," a rebuttal to Wikipedia's portrayal of satanic ritual abuse, published on November 2nd, 2008, by Wanda Carricker, Ph.D. Satanic ritual abuse, SRA, is not a moral panic. SRA is a subset of ritual abuse. Ritual abuse is defined in the Dictionary of Psychology as a method of control of people of all ages consisting of physical, sexual, and psychological mistreatment through the use of rituals. Young, Sachs, Braun, and Watkins, 1991, used the term satanic ritual abuse to describe ritual abuse associated with satanic worship. Becker and Froling, 1998, cautioned that, number one, a ritual can be staged to make a victim believe that the ideological background is real, i.e. a child is made to think she has murdered a baby as a sacrifice to Satan or another deity. And two, that whether or not a ritual is staged, the victim is bound into the real or faked belief system of the perpetrator or perpetrators. A June 2007 review of psychological and medical peer-reviewed journals yielded 47 empirical studies of the ritual abuse phenomenon. Bottoms, Shaver, and Goodman, 1996, indicate that the majority of surveyed therapists who have treated at least one alleged survivor believe their clients' claims of ritual abuse. Schutermeyer and Vino, 1999, report that none of the counselors in their Australian study believed that their clients intentionally fabricated claims of ritual abuse. Bottoms et al. Constructed a prototype of 386 cases from the decade of the 1980s based on the particular features of abuse that clinical psychologists had heard from their clients. They found the following. The most common feature of ritual abuse cases was forced sex. The next most common was repeated practices. Also common, however, were abuse by a member of a cult-like group, abuse related to symbols associated with the devil, abuse involving sacrifice or torture of animals, abuse involving excrement or blood, and abuse involving knives, altars, and candles. The least common features of ritualistic cases were abuse related to the breeding of infants for ritual sacrifice, abuse involving cannibalism, child pornography, and amnesic periods of preoccupation with dates. Young et al., 1991, described 37 adult patients, all diagnosed with multiple personality disorder or dissociative disorder not otherwise specified, who reported similar abuses by satanic cults. Apparently, most of the data were collected while the patients were in treatment with the authors. The article lists 10 types of ritual abuse and the percentage of subjects who reported each type. Sexual abuse, 100%. Witnessing and receiving physical abuse, torture, 100%. Witnessing animal mutilation and killings, 100%. Death threats, 100%. Forced drug usage, 97%. Witnessing and forced participation in human adult and infant sacrifice, 83%. Forced cannibalism, 81%. Marriage to Satan, 78%. Buried alive in coffins or graves, 72%. Forced impregnation and sacrifice of own child, 60%. Schaefer and Casalino, 1992, interviewed 19 women and 1 man who reported types and after effects of ritualistic abuse consistent with those reported by Young et al. All subjects reported witnessing the murder of animals, infants, children, and or adults. All reported suicidal ideation, and half reported suicide attempts. The majority reported severe and sadistic forms of abuse by multiple perpetrators. Some reported continued re-contact, re-victimization into their adult years. Satanic ritual abuse is an international phenomenon. Vanderhart, Boone, and Hartmeyer, 1997, describe reports of satanic ritual abuse in the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, Italy, Norway, Spain, South Africa, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Kent, 1997, in Canada. And Schuttermeyer in Vino, 1999, in Australia. An organization, Advocates for Survivors of Child Abuse, 2006, also includes reports of satanic ritual abuse in Australia. In Ritual Abuse in the 21st Century, German journalist Ulla Frohling writes about her study that was published as a book in 1996 titled Our Father Who Art in Hell. Reprinted in 2008, it is about the life of a German woman with a background of satanic ritual abuse. The book had an impact. Victims found a corroboration of their experiences in it, and doctors and trauma therapists who worked with dissociative patients use it for workshops and training courses. A parliamentary inquiry examined the topic of ritual abuse, as did the Parliamentary Select Committee, Sects and Psycho Groups, which mentions the book several times in its concluding report. 3 surveys on ritual abuse were carried out. Together with Michaela Huber's textbook Multiple Personalities, it changed the German public's perception of one of the darkest areas of organized violence. Becker, 2008, reported unpublished data from one of the above-mentioned surveys, a 1997 study by Frohling and German psychotherapist Michaela Huber. Of 354 cases in treatment for the after effects of ritual abuse by 126 therapists and counselors from 61 locations in Germany, 58% reported that they had been ritually abused in a satanic cult. Results from the 2007 International Extreme Abuse Surveys, offered in English and German, indicate that ritual abuse, including satanic ritual abuse, is widespread. More than 2,000 persons from 40 countries responded to one or more of the surveys for adult survivors of extreme abuse in childhood. For professionals who work with survivors who report extreme abuse, and for caregivers of children who disclose ritual abuse and its associated mind control. Satanic ritual abuse-related data are reported by Becker, Carricker, Overkamp, and Rutz, 2008. On the extreme abuse surveys, 543 respondents reported that they were ritually abused in a satanic cult, 360 from the United States, 33 from Canada, 97 from Europe, and 53 from other countries. Respondents on the PEAS were asked to report the approximate number of their adult clients who had reported memories consistent with the abuse tortures listed. Of 219 professionals who responded to the item, ritual abuse in a satanic cult, 20 reported none, 56 reported 1, 74 reported between 2 and 10, 28 reported between 11 and 20, 41 reported more than 20. On the CEAS, 55 caregivers reported that the child or children under their care had alleged a satanic cult as their perpetrator group. 2 web-based archives show legal proceedings and convictions related to SRA and other forms of ritual abuse. I'm going to link to these in the description of the video. The first is called Conviction List, Ritual Child Abuse. The second is called the Satanism and Ritual Abuse Archive. For more psychological and legal evidence on the existence of satanic ritual abuse and other forms of ritual abuse, see Brief Synopsis of the Literature on the Existence of Ritual Abuse, Publications on Ritual Abuse and Mind Control in 2008, and Proof that Ritual Abuse Exists. Satanic ritual abuse, or SRA, is not a moral panic. Don't listen to the propaganda of a world that is both blinded by the God of this age and, in many cases, absolutely complicit in the plans which are unfolding. God's waking up your eyes. You really only have one of 2 options. Be overcome or overcome. Either he who is in the world is greater than he who is in you, or he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. God's waking you up to do some work. It's time to get working.